Hello and welcome back to the Cosmic Alignment Lab podcast. This is the third episode of the second season. And I'm Ishita, your host. I'm also a Reiki master and I'm the founder of the Cosmic Touch community for intuitive leaders. And our podcast is basically to help you become more aware of energy healing practices and the plethora of practices out there so you can make good choices for your life. And this is both for our members as well as all our followers. And today we have with us someone very special, Sanna Wupong Calvert. So she's a good friend, and we've been in touch for many, many moons now. And every time we chat, it's just such a healing conversation. Even without doing any energy work, so as to speak, because I think it's the aura and the soul that connects. So, a little bit about Sanna. She is a non-profit social and educational entrepreneur, intuitive mystic teacher, and TV personality who considers herself a new earth leader. She lives her vision for a beautiful future for humanity and earth through her non-profits, the Foundation for Family and Community Healing and Sanctuary of Earth, and her private practice provides spiritual guidance and intuitive readings. And today, Sanna and I are going to really dive into topics about what New Earth means, what is this term that's really coming about, and how energy healing can be even more beneficial than, let's say, taking medication sometimes, or even just speaking about the mind on a therapy call, for example. So, Sana, welcome on this podcast, and I would love for you to tell us a little bit about your transformational journey. What led you to energy healing and what got you here?
Ishita, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. As usual, I'm delighted to be sitting with you under any context or circumstances, and I'm honored to be invited into your community. So, how I got into this was, I guess the best way to describe it is I was an atheist and a recovering perfectionist and control freak, and I was very much in the world of my cognition and ego. I would say, rigid ego, as I would say, looking back on it. I was in my 24th or 5th year of working in higher education when I had a spiritual awakening because I was coming back from my sister's funeral when we pretty much that within a couple of days learned of my husband's stage 4 cancer. And so I had a spiritual awakening in the moment, and there was a healer that came to work on him, and she offered me a session, and she told me that a grandmother type figure, she was an ascended master, was showing her her medicine. She was an ancient Asian woman, and that at the end she told her to tell me that I could call her grandmother and that she would teach me her medicine. And I didn't say that I was teaching pharmaceutical sciences for most of that 24 years or so prior to that point. And I had been in this intention to bring healing for my late husband. Well, he wasn't late, my late husband at the time. So, so I said, and here I am, an atheist, right? I said, Heather, she's in the spirit realm, right? And she said, yeah. And I go, well, what do I do? And she said, meditate. And I'm like, okay. So that healer, it was a Reiki session, ended up attuning me in Reiki. And I immediately began to feel the energy of the grandmother working through my hands. And so Reiki, you're usually like this, or you're like this. But with the grandmother, it was, just hands wherever. And I kind of learned that because a beautiful soul in that Athens, Georgia, invited me to a authentic movement class where you learn how to let your body move intuitively, and your body as an instrument, an antenna for divine information and information of yourself and your higher self. I took one class with that, and I just let the authentic movement come through me, let the grandmother show me the way. And so I just let my body move intuitively with her, and I was sitting here like going, what's happening? Because my atheist brain is like, I don't understand what's happening here. And then when she was done, she just like put my hands down. And I'm like, wow. My mind was blown. And so that was the beginning of what I call yin energy medicine. So it's an energy medicine that I channel through the grandmother and my ancestors. And what I know now is what it was my ancestors there with me the whole time. And I'm of Chinese descent. My parents came from China, and they lived on the land that their families had lived on for as many generations as anybody knew. So Chinese people are pretty much original to the land. There's been very little mixing of the blood. And the energy medicine that's coming through me, and as well as my intuitive work, I understand to be of Aboriginal origin of the Wu shaman. So I'm bringing through ancestral transmission what I believe to be some original healing practices that predate what we would call traditional Chinese medicine in the modern world.
Wow. That is so powerful. Like how you shared about, your grandmother coming through you and expressing, I suppose, your gifts through you, I think that's so powerful because our lineage and our ancestry can both be like a boon and also a bane, right? Like there are so many gifts and talents that have been passed on through generations, which can be activated through these connections. And at the same time, there are a lot of patterns, a lot of ancestral trauma that can be passed down through, through generations, which we also need to uncover and unlearn almost, which I think it's really beautiful because sometimes our ancestors literally give us the way to heal ourselves and to heal the generations, not only before us, but the ones that are to come after us, right? Because I truly believe that healing is not just for the present version of yourself, nor is it just for yourself. It's for, I would say, 7 generations before and 7 generations after, because the work that we do through energy, it can create such magical ripple effects. Um, and I know you also spoke a little bit about traditional Chinese medicine and how you kind of learned the predisposition of it even. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? What is traditional Chinese medicine and what is your practice?
Well, I can't speak too much on what is now known as traditional Chinese medicine because I haven't been trained in it. I had witnessed my mother using those remedies. It's really the modern expression of ancient and traditional practices, which have evolved and morphed over thousands of years. And and so it's a practice that's based more on the qi rather than the molecular and physical structures of the body, which is more the path of the allopathic Western medicine, which is, from my view, very reductionistic. It's not holistic in its approach, but it also has a wonderful place in healing. But where that place is for each one of us is for us to discern. I'm a little bit more tapped into sort of the traditional Chinese medicine space, and again, mostly from an experiential and transmission of the ancestors' perspective. From my view, what I've gotten from all of this is that healing is also not just for what we would call physical ailments, but it would have to do with everything about our lives. And so in the Western world, we have everything in compartments. Not everything. Most things are in compartments. And there's illness, and then there's medicine. And so we're not really we're more and more paying attention to preservation of health and for the prevention side and all of that, and lifestyle and spirituality. I mean, we're starting to move more and more into a integrated and holistic view of it. But the ancient people have, for the most part, I understand, have not really differentiated between the physical material and the
Mm.
energetic. And
Yeah.
so, in according to at least some of the medicine, the thought around Chinese medicine is that our beliefs cause can cause blockages in our chi, which causes illness. Okay, so our illness begins with our thoughts,
Wow.
and when we are in imbalance in any way, our chi gets blocked and disrupted, and then we have not only problems in our physical expression, but probably emotional and psychological, spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
relational, all of these things. So so this idea that your beliefs and your focus become your reality, this is really true, that we manifest our
Mm-hmm.
own health and wellness, and we create that in the world around us to some degree. That's not to say that other things can't intrude, and of course they do, but also the way we respond to it can either help us flow through it, flow around it, or we get stuck. And so this is
Mm-hmm.
very much the principle of Taoism. And so Taoism is considered an indigenous faith of China, and it stems from the I Ching, um, and it has morphed and changed over the millennia. Um, the I Ching is probably more than 5,000 years old, and the I Ching is called the Book of Changes because it's all about your energy and the energy around you, and all of it in flux.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're either flowing with it, being in the Tao, being in the flow, or you're getting stuck.
Yeah.
So,
Resisting it.
so yeah. So at the heart of it is, are you able to flow with yourself and the energies, or do you get stuck? And so this is a life practice. It's not a medicine. You're not fixing things
Mm-hmm.
potentially. You're living naturally and organically and holistically. And one of the things that I love about Taoism, and again, I'm not an expert in Taoism, I've just been practicing it intuitively, and more recently, I'm starting to study it. But one of the basic premises of the early Taoism is that truth is paradoxical and ephemeral.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if we were to really live that way, that we can't really understand truth, we can't really understand reality, but we can flow with it. I mean, what if we all lived that way? Would there be conflict? Would there be as much illness and disease, and being stuck? We would be more in our purpose, and we'd be more in right relationship with everybody and everything. So if we really live that way, then we can create health and well-being and vibrancy, and to understand that everything is as it should, whether we think it's terrible or awful. Also a Buddhist concept, that life just is, and we could either enjoy it and get the most out of it, or we can resist it and be miserable.
Yeah, that's so beautifully put. I think you really explained, both Taoism and a brief intro to TCM, or Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, very beautifully. Because, something I recently read in a Buddhist text was also, there are different boats which take us into different areas of our lives, right? Like there are different rivers that we need to cross, and then there are different boats which take us across the stream. Now, if we get attached to a boat and we keep thinking about the boat that led us to that new path, we don't move forward. We're stuck in the past. And that's what creates all of this resistance that you were talking about, right? Like where we can't flow with the energy, with the direction that the energies want to take us towards. And this is, I think, the ultimate point of healing, which is to release these resistances that we pick up from our environment, from our childhood, from even past lives sometimes, so that we can flow with the universal energies, so we can actually become the best version of ourselves in this lifetime, and maybe even make ripple effects across not just Earth as we know it, but also across generations that come after us. Um, and I also really loved what you spoke about, the truth being ephemeral and paradoxical, because It is so true. Like, what's true today might not be true tomorrow. Like today I have a fever, tomorrow I don't. And I'm still the same person. It's just that, this let's say weather that my body has been moving through has just shifted into something nicer. So,
Right. And what's true for you may not be true for me,
exactly.
and honoring that. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's, I think, that brings us to a really interesting topic of the new earth, right? Like, because when we are in acceptance and coherence of all of these different truths, let's say, right, across different dimensions, across different cultures, across different people, that's when we create this almost like global peace or global harmony, where we can all actually work in sync with one another rather than try to resist one another, which is again coming from the past, right? Like, oh, because colonialism happened, so now, we hate everyone who's like from the UK. Like that's not quite how it works. So I'm curious, Sana, like how would you define New Earth? What, as a leader of New Earth, how would you define it, and how are you yourself embodying it right now?
So the way it was described to me by my ancestors is that New Earth is a dimension, a reality, a future, a near future. Not a, we're moving into it, a near future that is starting to happen, where it's going to be a major evolution for humanity, akin to when fish learned to walk on land.
Wow.
So it's that transformational. It's um, that much of a leap. Um, and the thing is that, and again, this is just my intuition and my understanding, is that Earth is going through the same process. Earth's corpus, Earth's body, Earth's spirit and energy are going through this massive evolution. And it's like a raging river. It's like a fire hose. And so people who are sensitive and intuitive, we have been feeling this, right,
Yeah.
for a long time. The energies are just huge. We can't understand it. And so, again, about that resistance piece, we can either get a raft and ride along, or we can try to swim upstream or, cross the river. But Earth's energy is inviting us to just grow and evolve with her. And what we're moving into is a much more beautiful, loving, integrated, holistic way of living with each other and with Earth. It's kind of like we're bees and we've forgotten how to hive. So we're being invited to create the human hive. Um, we're not where we're drones, like all clones of each other, but that we each have a role that we do naturally and authentically. And the problem is that if we're all trying to fit into a square hole and we're pegs of an infinite variety of shapes, then the hive doesn't get what it needs. And then it's out of sync, out of balance, out of function. And a drone that's trying to be a queen and a queen that's trying to be an ant and an ant that's trying, like it doesn't work. The system is
Yeah.
dysfunctional. And so for me, so much of it is to clear and shed and heal, as you've described, for ourselves and past and future generations, so that we can be truly authentic. We can embody our soul's purpose and intention. And when we do that with clarity and fidelity, the more and more we do that, the more we actually create heaven on earth for ourselves and each other.
Wow.
So that's what we're doing. We're building this human hive where we're each authentic, we're each valued for exactly who we are, and if somebody's passion is sweeping streets, that is just as important as somebody that's building an empire. Okay, because we
Exactly.
can't do it without street sweepers, and we're not going to have, a millionfold difference in salaries. That every one of us is important to the hive. So, so that's, to me, that's where we're going and how we're getting there. And the way we stay in that raging river is, to me, also follow the Tao. The Tao is the
Mm.
way. And we do that by clearing our mind, feeling into the feeling into the situation, you know, and then naturally following where it wants to take us. So that sounds really, of course, easier said than done.
Yeah.
But that's the invitation, because when we do that, when we see where the current is taking us, we just let the current do the work. We
Yeah.
still have to participate. We have to paddle when we need to paddle, and etc. It's not a passive thing, but the more we align with the stream, the current that we are in right now, the more we let the current do the work. And when we do that, we can be in trust and in peace, and we don't have to be stressed out, and we can be ourselves, and we can excel in the way that is most natural and authentic to us and for our soul's purpose.
How beautiful. Yeah, I think you really said it beautifully when you said, like it's about bringing out the authentic soul in everyone, right? And creating that hive, that harmony, where everything just clicks, it's not there, it's not opposing one another. And something really interesting that I've been moving through, through my personal healing journey is the more that I come into like my soul's authenticity, and the more I come into my purpose, the more I actually experience the resistance even more loudly, because it needs to be cleared out. When you have been operating for years in disharmony with yourself, coming into your authenticity actually feels even more like fearful and challenging and like crazy, right? And that's where a lot of people kind of like give up. They're like, oh my god, like this is, this feels too uncomfortable for me, so I'm gonna go back to the way that it was. And the thing is that you can't go back, you know? You can't go back once you've risen up. Going back, it's kind of like telling your soul to leave your body, telling your true essence to leave. And, to that extent, like I also want to open up the conversation towards how we can continue down this road of our authentic selves, without taking, let's say, medication, without needing to, put things inside of our body to make sense of our energy, or combat physical illnesses, for instance. And especially because you've had like the science and, pharmaceutical background, and now you're into the energy work kind of side of things. I'm very curious to know your thoughts about this.
Well, first, Ishita, let me just commend you for how incredibly wise and astute you are. I mean, I think you're probably half my age. And
Thank you.
you're just so insightful, and just reminding us that the deeper you go, the more authentic you are, the scarier it can be.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really true. And to keep going, because you can't go back. You can't unsee what you've seen. And the next question is also super important. I feel like we want to jump ahead. Like we want to just go to the finish line, and we can't. We have to take baby steps. So, it's taken me a long time to work all of that stuff out of my system. I had to slowly get myself off my pharmaceuticals, because like I can't just cut them cold turkey. I have to adopt something else instead. And so here's where the Tao comes in, um, clearing my mind, um, stating my intention, and letting the path reveal itself. Um, and so I've slowly done that, by serendipity and all of that. Lapses in insurance and medical coverage, medical providers, like I was just sort of like missing my doses gradually. And eventually, when I went back, they're like, oh, your cholesterol and your blood pressure are fine, So that was a little bit of a chaotic. I wouldn't recommend that you just embrace chaos, but you find the path. And maybe in my case, I also had a health coach come on and encourage me. And so anyway, let the universe show you the way.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe for other people, it would be to find a naturopathic physician or whatever that would come into your world. I had to kind of go back to it because I developed a really bad case of asthma out of the blue at the age of 60 last fall, and I had to go back on the medicine. And I'm like, darn it, you know. Um, but I feel like what that wanted to teach me was, and this is a traditional Chinese medicine type of approach, is that I was having lung issues because I was allowing my boundaries to get crossed. Because
Wow.
lungs are part of your boundaries, and I've I've finally resolved this creeping intrusion on my boundaries. And when I sort of came to the realization, I just started coughing and coughing, and all this phlegm came up. And there was even a part a couple of weeks prior to that where I was doing energy medicine on myself to help move the energies through my body. And I like literally needed to purge, which has never happened to me when I was the recipient of any energy medicine. So I do feel like that a lot of things can be healed using non-invasive methods like
Mm-hmm.
energy medicine or following the Tao or um, sitting with your beliefs, you know, because when you're in that discomfort, like what is the belief that's keeping me here? What's arising? If I'm just setting the intention to heal this, what comes up in me? And to
Yeah.
just hold it and love it and let it show you the way. Let it um, set the intention to release it and heal it and love it back into wholeness.
Wow.
Um, so baby steps and
Mm-hmm.
to not rush the process. Because when we try to leapfrog, then that's what we call spiritual bypassing. Or in the case of secular people, it's cognitive bypassing. And to go, if you need a medicine, then go get a medicine, you know, and find a way to work yourself off if that's your true intention. So, but to just like no two paths are the same, and to let your current guide you.
How beautiful. Yeah, I so agree with everything that you said, because interestingly, like I've never had to wear glasses all my life. I've had good vision. But I think it was 2 or 3 years ago when I was just under a lot of stress with my family, with my circumstances before I moved here to Spain. Like I developed like a number and I had to wear glasses. And interestingly, like about a year later, I like recently got myself tested again, and like my number's gone. Like my vision is fine now, and I don't really need to wear glasses again. So what I really believe happened is that firstly, like all my practices of Reiki, like also attuning myself to the master level of Reiki and really sitting with myself and with my fears, it's almost like there was this filter in front of my eyes which got removed. That was what was creating the number, the low vision, whatever you want to call it. And just by sitting with myself over an extended period of time and coming into my authenticity, like we spoke about, like that number kind of just went away. And similarly, I mean, I've been through so many health challenges in my lifetime already, and with things like mental health, for example, like I was on heavy medication for a very long time, and it wasn't actually solving anything. If anything, I think it was just making other parts of my body like more funny. And once I decided, like, there was a day I remember still where, I was like, I'm done. I'm not taking this medication anymore. Like, it is messing up other organs in my body. Like, I could feel it, all of a sudden I was having other challenges in other parts of my body. Because after years of a continued drug, like, you don't know where it's going in your body. Different systems, your filtration, everything is getting messed up. So I made a decision. I was like, no more. Like, I will not take any more medicines. and I'm gonna figure this stuff out on my own. Like, I'm gonna take care of myself. I'm gonna focus on my health and my well-being. And this was almost like 3 or 4 years ago, and now, like, I wake up happy in the morning. I have things that I need to do. Like, I feel centered. I have my practices, whether it's my Buddhist practice, whether it's my energy healing practice, whether it's the community, the cosmic touch. All of these things, like all of these practices, they keep me connected to my vision and to my intention of taking care of myself. And then, of course, living in nature has made a huge difference. Like, I'm literally in the mountain. My backyard is so beautiful because it's like a hill. And so, going for walks and taking time in nature and just connecting with the earth more and more, all of that has really added up to changing my perspective on medication. Of course, like, when there's acute pain in a part of your body, you just, you need to kind of heal it quickly, because no one likes to suffer. But when it goes to actually understanding the root cause of that pain, it's usually something within our beliefs, within our energetic system, which is causing that pain. And if we can sit with that and truly, like, fully be present with it, just give it the attention it needs, like, feel it through the body, nothing else is called healing. Like, that's how you heal it, just by being present and saying, hey, I see you and I'm here for you. And
Yeah.
I just truly, truly believe that there are so many better ways of getting our life on track, of finding our soul's purpose, than taking on medication, or taking on anything that's not natural for the body to process. Because while it might be helpful in the moment, I feel it can have negative consequences in other parts of the body in the long term as well. Something for everyone to keep in mind, I feel.
Yes, an agreement and also a caution. So I also went through a period in my life where I was having really serious fibromyalgia, which is chronic fatigue, and migraines. I was having migraines 15 days a month. And I was so medicated, like I couldn't really function. And I had this moment of, I'm taking myself off this. And when I got clear-headed, I realized there were big changes that I needed to make in my life. And I did, and all of that's gone. So,
Yeah,
but the caution is that if I really recommend that if you are in the allopathic medicine care system now, that you work with your provider to make sure if you are coming off medicines or if you don't want to go onto medicines, that you do that in a way that's supported. Um,
absolutely.
and sometimes like taking yourself off cold turkey can actually create great risk. Um, and you also want to come off it and evaluate, and then you might need to go back on or try again, because there's people that come off and then they just spiral out of control. So please do so in a careful way, and I think especially when you feel like you're really ready, again, follow the way. It's called Wu Wei, clear your mind, look for the path, look for the stream you're in. And but also, have your checks and balances in place. I don't recommend anybody do so recklessly when they have a life-threatening illness. But pain for sure
Absolutely.
is very energetic and psychological. And not for everything, obviously, but still, like your healing can be very accelerated even after an injury or surgery. If your beliefs and practices and you have energetic support from a talented healer like yourself, that can really, your healing can be very rapid.
Yeah, I think that's a really good word of caution as well, because again, it's like, when you've been taking something for so long, your body gets used to it, and then just getting off it can create even more imbalances.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
definitely important to talk to your doctors. Make sure you have the right support, whether it's
Yeah.
your allopathic doctor or like your healer, whoever, and listen to your inner guidance. Like, connect with your heart space as often as you can, especially through health challenges, and check in with yourself, like, am I on the right path? Is this actually serving me, or is this just helping me on the surface level right now? And go
Yeah.
deeper, because we're all here to live a long life and have happiness and provide to the earth, and also receive from the earth, right? We're not here to suffer. So, on that
Yeah.
note, I would love to just end the podcast. Sana, if you could share like a quick note, or something that you feel people should really follow with their intuition, or how they can listen to it even better. Um, I think that would be
Yes.
really wonderful.
Yes. Thank you. I love that as a wrap up, Ishita. So I think I'll start with a short story. So even when I was a raging atheist and control freak, when I had an important decision, I had the good sense, amazingly, to just stop everything and quiet my mind, quiet my body, and sit with it. And sometimes I might start by making a list of pros and cons, and I would assign like a numerical score to each thing and add them up, and I would do a very cognitive thing. But then I would allow myself to like feel into the comparison. Like it says, go with option A, and then I go, how does that feel? You
Hmm.
know, because and then decide, just use that as a way to respond to something. And because what I've learned after giving my life over to I should, I have to, I will never type of way of living was that if I wanted to be successful, I should follow the formula. And I did great. I got tenure. I had a great looking resume. But if I want to be happy, I need to follow my heart. So the more we stop and we clear and we feel into the situation with our hearts, the more we can follow our path of happiness. That doesn't mean that everything's going to go smooth. But even when there are challenges, that we follow our heart. What do I need to learn? What growth is needed for me to become bigger than this? And those things, I think, are just some very practical practices that I think can go quite a ways. And if you really commit to it, the more you do that every day, the more just following your heart can become your new habit. And just remember, everything that we do, pretty much what we notice, our beliefs about it, and how we feel, and then what we do as a result is a habit. So if we want to have a better life, we create new habits. So this is a new habit that's worth investing in. And so now I live not entirely, but almost entirely from my heart by practicing every day.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, I agree completely. Like, following our heart and having the discipline to actually listen to what our heart wants, more importantly, I think is the way to go, and something that we really value and follow in the Cosmic Touch community as well, because one of our values is actually heart leadership, right? So leading from the heart space. So thank you so much, Sana, for coming on the podcast today and for giving us so many insights. And for anyone who's interested in joining the Cosmic Touch, our early summer applications are now open. I will pop a link, of course, in the description, and also links to connect with Sana. So thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
it was a pleasure speaking with you as always.
Likewise.
Okay, bye everyone.